part. All right. So the first thing we're going to work on is the heel. Okay. Do you know what heel is?
It's where you should be sitting for me, or like walking with me.
Walking with you, right? So heel means walk at my heel. From traditional. So his right shoulder parallel to your left leg is the visual. Okay. Now some trainers or people teach us heel as come to my side. I teach that that's a separate command. Heel is simply walk with me, stay with me, sit when I stop. Okay. So if Taco was like off smelling, I wouldn't say heel and expect him to come over here like this. Okay. That would be, excuse me, the way I work, that would be a recall into a finish command. Finish is the come to my side. Okay. So don't worry about that stuff. So what we're going to do is for the heel, if Taco gets ahead of you, do you know how to correct it?
No.
Okay. So the way we taught this, or was it I think Enrique in the video, is most people when they do the heel, when the dog gets ahead of them, they'll kind of punish or correct them for pulling, and say no, and then remote them, and they'll go heel, and they'll keep walking in the same direction, right? And the dog will go ahead, we'll correct them, and they'll go no, heel, we'll keep doing that. The problem with that method is it's too complicated for a dog to figure out. Okay, dogs are very simple. So what we do, or what Enrique did in that video, was anytime Taco got ahead of him, he allowed him to, but he would 180 to the immediate right. So now he's going the opposite way to Taco, and he would be remoting. Okay, so if they're going away from each other, and Taco feels the sensation, he doesn't like it, it would get his attention, and then when he would turn around, he would see Enrique going the opposite way, so he would catch up to him. And we just keep repeating that process. So then he starts to think, man, every time I'm not paying attention and I get ahead of my handler, this starts happening, and then when I turn around, they're going the opposite way. So it's what we call the correct and redirect. We're correcting them for going the wrong direction, and then redirecting them, telling them we're going in this direction. Okay? So that correction is always in effect. So like let's say he's doing great, and then like in a year he gets ahead of you, you would turn and tap on the button to correct him. Okay? That never stops, because if you try to go to the tap to get him to come back, that becomes a problem.
Right.
Okay. And as we talk about this more, things will start making more sense. Okay. So here we're at 10, was it? Mm-hmm. So we want to find our working number. There's 3 levels. We have connection, perception, and working. Okay. Connection is when Taco's looking at a dog, you're tapping, and you'll see this contraction, but he's not phased. Okay. So he feels it, but it's not enough to deter him from what's going on. Perception is he feels it and he kind of looks around like what's going on. Working is he feels it and he goes, whoa, what is that? Okay, and we always want to be working at that working level. The working level is going to change. Don't get married to a number.
Sure.
It could be different whether you're like at Home Depot with Taco, or if you're walking with him in the neighborhood, or you're walking with him at a forest preserve. That working number is going to change according to the environment because of the stimuli. Okay. So it's essentially what makes the obedience applicable no matter the situation. Because if, let's say, you're in here and we had really good contact, it could be 15, and he's perfect. Then it's 15. But then you go home where it's his neighborhood, he's more comfortable, or maybe he sees a dog that he doesn't like, it could be 45. Okay? And don't let his size, his temperament, his personality, who you know him as, affect the rationalization. Because if he's lunging and barking, a lot of my clients go like, well, he's such a sweet dog, why would I go to 80? Right. I'm like, well, because everything under 80 isn't working right now. So you just keep going up until eventually you stop the behavior, okay? And that's if needed.
Right. So like in that moment, I would be going up on it.
Correct. And I'll give you a structure. So because you have to now learn all this stuff, right? Is I'm going to give you a structure to go by. You may have failures. Mm-hmm. It's okay. It's not going to be detrimental to training. You're not going to like lose weeks of progress or anything like that. It's just you have to learn. And then once you figure it out and you go, oh, okay, every time I see a dog, if Taco became reactive, when I get to 45, he stops right above. So what does that tell me?
That 45 is working for now.
Right. So then the next time I see a dog, I'm already at 45. So I don't worry about 10 to 45, like 10, 15, 20, 25, 35, 40, whatever. I go, it's been 45 and that works, so I'm just going to go to 45. Right. So I can stop it or prevent it immediately from happening. The goal here, of course, is that we don't get any reactivity.
Right.
Okay. Questions about any of that stuff?
No, I mean, I think it'll probably come as we're doing it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So here, in terms of your length of your leash, this looks good. So if you look at your leash here, you see how at the bottom of your leash, it makes kind of like a J.
Yeah.
Okay, and at the bottom of the J, it's kind of by his armpit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's like the perfect length. Okay, so when you have it that where it comes down to the armpit, it prevents it from getting tangled up in his legs, so that it's out of his way, but it's enough slack to give Taco the space to make mistakes so that you can correct it. Okay? So to initiate the heel command, you're going to cue the word heel first, and then you're going to move forward with your left leg. Okay?
And it has to always be on the left side.
Correct. Okay. Now there'll be exceptions to things, like let's say you're walking and maybe there's a person with their dog on their left, and then you got Taco and you got yourself. And maybe their dog isn't very well behaved. You can see that from afar, right?
Right.
If you don't have space to get out the way, you can move Taco to your right to create more space. But it's you doing so, and not Taco doing it.
Leading it.
Exactly. Okay. It's because you're doing it, and then once you pass that situation, you can bring them back to your left side, and then you're back to walking.
Okay. I think out of habit, I've just grown accustomed to
the right side. It's okay.
Yeah.
So the reason why for having a consistent side, it makes it much easier for him. So if you correct him, he just knows this is where I go.
Right.
As opposed to if you're constantly shifting sides, he's not going to have a really fixed answer.
Sure.
Okay. Other questions? Alrighty. So I'm going to have you go and just turn. So you're standing next to Taco. That's good. And I'm going to have you cue the word heel, and then you're going to move forward your left leg, and I'm going to coach you through the rest. You'll make a right turn. I'm going to slow down here, and then slowly turn, and then walk towards this way. Good. So you see how Taco is right there at your left leg, and if you look at him, his right shoulder is like parallel to you.
Yeah.
That is the perfect positioning. Okay. Now don't always worry about perfect. Go ahead and keep walking, and you're going to slow turn here. There we go. You're going to just keep moving, and go ahead and pick up your pace. So when you're walking with Taco, when you've cued the word heel, that's what it's supposed to look like. Okay, he should not be ahead of you. Going to slow turn. Good turn. And you're going to move a bit slower here. But keep moving. Slower. Keep moving. And stop. Good. Okay, see how you just put his butt down automatically? It's nice, huh?
Literally never seen this dog before.
So that is heel.
Okay.
And we literally create that simply by going opposite directions to Taco and promoting at the appropriate number to make it meaningful to him of like, I need to be on the other side. Yeah. So this little exercise here is actually what's supposed to address the reactivity. Okay? Because if he's that tuned into you, okay, because he's thinking mom said heel, and heel comes with consequences, right? If I don't perform it correctly, is you become more important than the discomfort of the dog approaching. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
He's more worried about you than he is worried about that dog.
Sure.
Okay? So whenever we deal with reactivity cases, whether it's because the dog was an off-leash dog or the dog just developed difficult timing stuff, the first thing we always cover is leash walk. Okay? A lot of times it's just out of frustration.
Yeah.
If they're not trained correctly and they're just pulling and forging just all over the place, it builds a lot of pent-up frustration that ends up becoming a reactivity or display of aggression. Okay?
Right.
So now he has a reference point. Okay, so when you're walking with him, if he's walking by side one, there's no tension now.
Right.
There's no tension on the leash, there's no tension on the collar, which then builds to activity. Because what happens is when he comes out and he feels that pressure, he's already kind of amped up.
Yeah.
And then he sees a dog and he amps up even more.
Sure.
So it should feel when you walk with Taco like you're not even walking with Taco.
There.
Exactly. It's just going to get kind of weird in the beginning.
This is very weird to me right
Yes.
now.
So, because then people get stuck on like looking at their dog as they're walking.
Yeah,
but now you're not paying attention
I
to this.
wasn't looking at them at all, but
Right.
that was the most bizarre walk I've ever had with him.
So the way we get used to that is learning how to feel for Taco.
Okay.
So some dogs when they walk, they kind of bump.
Okay.
So then you'll kind of get used to like a rhythm of Taco just kind of bumping into you as you're moving forward. So then you become sensitive to that. So then it's like, oh, I know he's opening, I can feel it.
Right.
Or he actually, I can hear his tags a little bit.
Okay.
When he walks, you'll hear a certain kind of rhythm to those tags. Is if Taco starts to lag, you're going to hear those tags kind of quiet down, and that tells me he's out of place. Okay. If you're walking, the last thing is your leash. Your leash is a line of communication. People. If the leash is nice and slack and Taco's next to us, we should feel no tension. But if I'm walking with him and all of a sudden I feel this, what does it tell me?
Somewhere else.
Yeah, he's pulling to the left, right? Or if I feel it go back, he's pulling back, or he's pulling forward. If I feel it forward, he's pulling forward. So if I'm walking with him and I feel it to the side, you just check, maybe he's like sniffing the grass. I just keep walking and tap him. Boom, he comes back to my side, and I would just keep going, right? So the leash is, when you feel tension, it's communication from Taco to you. I'm doing something I shouldn't. But if, like, let's say Taco comes over to your right side, and you pull to your left, you're telling him, hey, you're on the wrong side, you're supposed to be over here. Okay? But when you're walking together, there should be no tension. Okay? Continuous tension creates frustration.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be communication. It's either him telling you he's out of place, or it's you telling him he's out of place.
Right.
Okay? What's going to be used to correct them is always that tap of the button. Okay? So on the side of your e-collar there, there's a bumpy button there. That one, that's the neck function. Okay? That's the muscle contraction. That is what Taco is trained on. Okay? Some people, so you have neck, you have continuous. You're going to be using that neck function. The pager function is simply a vibrate. Some dogs pick up more with the vibrate than they do with the stick because it's unregulated. It's just a flat out vibration. Whereas the neck is from low to high, you just gradually increase it. So it changes how it comes across. So if Taco went to the side, I would tap him. I wouldn't say heel. You want to use that tap. You want to put a consequence to breaking him into position.
Okay, so the heel is only for the initial.
Correct. Heel is what triggers everything. Okay. Once you cue that word, it's Taco's job to be at your side, but then it's your job to make sure that he's paying attention and to communicate with him clearly what it is that you're doing, okay? Which is coming to a stop and coming to terms. So right now, before your turns and before you came to a stop, do you remember what I had you do? Slow down. Okay. Do you drive?
No.
Have you driven?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just don't have a car in the city.
Sure. What do you do before you stop?
You slow down.
What do you do before you turn?
You slow down.
Right. Same thing for him. Okay? Because you know what you're doing, he does. Okay? So if you just randomly stop, no matter how good he is on the heel, he's not going to catch it.
Right.
So like with driving, if you abruptly stop and there's someone behind you, it's going to be a collision.
Right.
Because it's too abrupt. Same thing for this guy. Okay? So that slowing down is the cue to Taco, something's changing. If he's being mindful, he should stop right next to you. Okay? And if he's making those, like the turns, the reason why he was doing those with you was because he had slowed down. So he's like, oh, this is what we're doing. Okay? So that's going to be forever. Okay? I don't care how perfect that heel is, you have to cue the slowdown in order for the dog to be able to catch it and actually land it with you. Okay? Questions about any of that so far? Okay? Now, my fault here, I actually skipped a step because I forgot to teach you how to find his working level. We're at 10 currently, right?
Correct.
So go ahead and look at Taco here, and you're going to tap on that bumpy button. Okay, tap, tap, tap. Okay, so you see how you move a little bit? Go ahead and go to 15. And tap, tap, tap. So you see how he's moving kind of subtly? This is what we would call perception level. Okay, let's go to 20. He's going through all this stuff, like thinking.
He's like, what are we doing?
Tap. 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 There we go. There we go. So you see how you get in closer here?
Yeah.
So I'm actually looking for a bigger response. Okay? You were at 20?
Yeah.
Let's try, we're going to go to 24. We're not going to do any taps here because I'm pretty sure that it's going to be good contact. But when you work with Taco, with the e-collar, it should never feel like an argument. Okay? If it feels like an argument, which is tap, 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 is not responding, you're too low. Okay?
Well, when you say you're looking for a bigger reaction, like what?
It's usually like a pretty big movement. Okay? Right now, his are very kind of subtle in terms of the speed and stuff. The big movement like this is concern. Okay? And the reason why we want that concern is that's what makes you more concerning than the dog. Exactly. Okay. But we're in the 24. So whenever you go on your walks with Taco, what I suggest in the beginning is you first start off with a potty break. Get that out the way first. Okay. Don't worry about setting the heel off the door and all that stuff. Just come out, get that out the way. Then once he's done, you would cue that heel word, and then your process would start. Okay.
That was like going to be one of my questions was how do you discern him needing just to go to the bathroom and like smelling around for that versus like
Correct. So once you initiate the heel, let's say you walk to like the park or something, and you decide I'm going to give him another potty break, you would come to a stop. He should stop and sit right next to you. You'd wait a moment, and we use the word break. Okay? So I go break, and I step off into the grass with him. At that moment, he's off the clock. Okay, so you can keep food, roll around, sit around, have a cigarette, don't care. He's on his own time.
Yeah.
So there's an on switch, which is heel, and break is the off switch. And break is the off switch for everything. Whether he's in a sit, a down, a place, a stay, or a heel. Once you've decided you're done, break. Okay? So once he's been cued into a behavior, you have to be very black and white about when it's on and when it's off. Okay, so if you're walking with Taco and he's in a heel, and all of a sudden he kind of deviates to go potty, most people go like, oh, he's just peeing. But he's breaking from the command without permission. So the next thing you know, heel means nothing anymore, and then he's just pulling all over the place.
Right.
It's very black and white. Okay, so like right now, I'm clocked in. I'm working for you, right? I'm not on my phone, I'm drinking a beer, I'm smoking a cigarette. I'm here teaching you and having a lesson.
Right.
But after this lesson, I can clock out. I can do any one of those things, whatever I want.
Right.
Same thing for him. So you control everything.
Yeah.
My structure is typically 80% work to 20% play. So if I go on an hour-long walk, 45 to 50 minutes can be a structured kind of heel. And then 10 to 15 minutes would be, now you're free to do your doggy thing. Okay? Your dog becomes what you allow him to practice. So if you practice a lot of free range, do whatever you want, make your own decisions, he becomes that kind of dog.
Yeah.
If it's we practice structure and discipline and calmness, then it becomes that kind of dog. Okay? So, let's say you're walking, let's say it's Sunday, Taco's been great all week, and you decide, like, I just want to go on a walk with Taco and let him be Taco. I don't care. Take him out. Don't do heel. Okay? But expect him to be pulling himself because he's not clocked in. Okay? There is no in between.
Yeah.
Because people go for, like, they're like, well, I don't really want the dog to be this tight. I think the dog doesn't pull me that much. Like, that's too complicated.
Yeah.
Dogs don't
they
think
can,
like that.
discern that.
Right. Some dogs, like, people get away with it because they're like a softer personality type where there's no behavioral issues or it's an older dog. But in most cases, it's either he's here or he's here. Okay? And again, I don't care if you allow that because as long as you have a cute heel, it doesn't matter what he's doing. Okay? It only matters if you just say heel and then randomly decide not to reinforce it and then you allow him to do all that stuff. That's what works against your obedience.
Yeah.
Okay? Other questions?
No, that actually makes sense.
So we're going to go ahead and practice that heel just back and forth. What I'm going to do is cue the word heel first. Again, moving forward with the left leg. You're going to walk, turn, slow down, come to a stop. You should auto sit. You're going to wait a moment. Cue the heel again, left leg. You're going to just practice that a couple of times. Okay, just to get used to that rhythm. Okay, whenever you're ready, heel.
Heel.
There you go. Yep, good turn. Good turn. Relax your left arm. Going to come to a stop. Good. So, this. Right here. Yeah, because I don't know if you noticed that. You were like this.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
So this is a habit that a lot of people have
Yeah.
because they're so used to holding their dog back.
Yeah.
And that'll work against you.
Okay.
Okay, because right now it's not affecting him because you have your leash fairly slack. But if you ever find yourself going to too short of a leash and pulling back, it's either you're recognizing you need to correct something because you're already pulling back, or just from from practice habit of I always pull back, is it starts to come into play, and dogs are constantly learning. Okay, so like obviously his heel, because it's fresh in his head, is very good.
Yeah.
But then if you leave here and you practice bad habits, I could see you in 3 weeks and it can be all over the place again because you retrained them. Okay, so that's one of the most common things I see. It's just that pulling back. Okay, so remember, you want to be nice and relaxed. There should not be any tension coming from us. Otherwise, that tension is going to be communicating to Taco like, hey, I'm like nervous or whatever, or I think something's going to happen, because you start to go into these behaviors. So just be mindful of that. Okay, heel. Mm-hmm. Good turn. Going to pick up your pace a little bit. Go ahead and slow down, but keep moving. Good. Just go ahead and slow to a stop. Good. We're going to try that a couple more times, okay? Heel.
No problem.
Good. I'm going to slow walk here. Slower, but keep moving. Slower, but keep moving. And slow to stop. Very good. I'm going to try that one more time. Heel.
Heel.
Mm-hmm. Good turn. And get ready for a stop. Very good. Okay? So, no matter if you're going very slow, he's supposed to keep on that leg. Okay? So, before you stop and before you turn, just remember to always slow down first. Which is because when you walk, like, or when humans walk, we're not used to like having to do that because typically we can just stop. It doesn't matter because there's not anybody really paying attention to us. But for the dog, it does. Okay, so that's just something. If you ever notice Taco's not stopping with you or not turning with you, it's either one of two things. Either we're forgetting to reinforce what he's supposed to be doing by the correctional turn and tap, or we're not slowing down. Okay, and it's almost always the not slowing down part that really gets people because they always forget.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about the turns. The heel turns have a very specific movement. Okay, now here, go and let me pull up. Yep. Like that. Good. So heel is very strict. It's walk with me, stay with me, sit when I stop. Okay, not lay down when I stop. So even though he's just going, we're going to be here for a while, because Jesse likes to talk, we're just make him so comfortable and lay down. Okay. But even though he's not technically doing anything bad, for him, he made a decision outside of what the command is. Okay, so then it becomes an option. So if he can just lay down when he feels like it, then he can lunge and bark when he feels like it. Does that make sense? So it's the smaller things that end up growing to bigger things. Okay, so just be mindful of that. So I'm going to demonstrate the turns here. There's two types of major turns. We have the crossover, and go ahead and heel, and you just come around like this.
Yep.
And then slow to a stop right there. Very good. So for the turns here, we have two types. We have the crossover turn, which is crossing over Taco, and then we have the pivot turn. Okay? The hardest turn is the crossover turn for people. So when you're walking with Taco, the way it would look is you want to make sure you slow down first, as many steps as you like, and then when you're ready, you're going to cross over with your right leg like this, okay? And then you're going to come in with your left leg, and you're going to cross over with your right leg again, and now you're going to have to. Okay, so it's a three-step movement. So we're walking, slow down, right, left, right. Now I'm going back the other way, okay? Slow down, right, left. So if you're on a sidewalk, I like to use the Crocs as a guide. So if this was like the sidewalk here, and we're walking, I would time it so that I turn right on the crack. Then I come up my left leg, and I'll turn again. If you do this correctly, you should stay within the width of the sidewalk. Okay, if you end up landing in the grass on someone's yard or driveway, you've done too many steps. Okay, because this crossover turn, if you're hugging on the right side of the sidewalk, should keep you within the space. Okay? The next turn is the 180 pivot, which is also a correctional turn when needed. So same process, you would slow down, but this time you're going to extend your left leg. Step back on your right leg. Forward, left leg, go back the opposite way. Okay? So it's left, right.
Why would I do this?
So the reason for the two types of out turns is, let's say you're walking and you can't pivot because there's people behind you. You have the crossover. Okay? Let's say there's people on this side of the sidewalk and you can't do the crossover. You have your pivot. So either way, depending on the situation, you're using the turn that's appropriate to it. And typically people will favor like a certain turn, which is typically the pivot, and it's the easiest one. But at least they have options in case like they don't have the space to do a particular one. Okay? Questions? Not yet. Yeah. Now for him, the reason why these are important as well is, again, you know what you're doing. Taco doesn't.
Right.
So we're using these. It's the same with everybody, because you never have to think about how you turn, right? But for him, the reason why that right leg is important is most people tend to favor the left leg. And what happens is, if he's really close here, you're either going to trip over him, step on him, or kick him out. So when you land with that right leg, dogs tend to naturally stop and just make way because they don't want to collide with you. And they just move it very naturally. This is nothing that we've taught him in the sense of like a skill. It's already in there. So a lot of my clients, when I'm working with them in private sessions, they're like, holy cow, my dog's so smart, they like pick that up right away. I'm like, well, it's because you're talking their language. Because dogs communicate through body language. So that's why right off the bat, it's nothing that we formally taught him. They just pick up on it because we're communicating. Okay? So when you're turning left, you're leading with right leg. When you're turning to the right, you're leading left leg. Okay? So once you start doing it, it's going to make more sense. It's okay. Okay? Now, this pivot that I showed you, this one, is also what we use to correct top leg. So if I'm walking with him, and he got ahead of me, tap, 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 I would just turn to go the opposite way, but I don't do the movements, because he's already not paying attention. He's only doing the movements when he's paying attention. Okay, so like right now when you're walking, the reason why he got your turn is because you're moving slow. Okay? But now when you start to add in specific leg movements, it's just going to tighten up that response a bit more. Okay? So we're going to start first with the crossover turns because that's the hardest. So from your position, it would be right, left, and then right to complete the turn. Okay, so I'm going to coach you through it. You're going to make mistakes. It's okay. Okay? All right, so go ahead and heel left leg. And go ahead and slow your pace. And get ready to time that right leg crossing at a 90-degree angle. Right, left, right. Just like that. And then you're going to pick up your pace again. Yeah. Oh, I see. Go ahead and slow down. Right, left, right. Good. Go ahead and pick up pace. Yep. Right. Good. Couple more. There you go. Just power through. Good. One more. Yeah. He got a little distracted, I think, when Bree moved the cage. So then but because you used appropriate leg movements, right, left, right, you got it. He was still able to complete it. Okay? Going to come to a stop. Good. Right there. Excellent. Okay? So all those were good, except on that last one, you did a soft step, right? And that's when, and I think you went, ooh, or something like that. It's because since it wasn't that pronounced, it wasn't clear for him.
Okay.
So that's why that very sharp 90-degree cut with the big step is important, because right away he just sees left.
Right.
And then he just starts to naturally pivot with it. Okay? So now we're going to do the 180 turns. So that's going to be the left, right, left. Yep, like that. Okay? So it's going to be the same process. You're going to slow down before you come to those turns. I'm going to have you practice those a few times. Okay? Heel.
Yep.
Right. Good job. Good. 4 more. Good. 3 more. Good. 2 more. Good. Last one. Okay. Go ahead and slow down to a stop when you're ready. Very good. So now, I'm going to have you go through those turns, but you're going to change them up as you please. Okay. So you'll be doing crossovers and pivots, but you're deciding when to do so.
Too much freedom in there.
You got it.
Yeah.
Right, left, right. You got it. Good.
Does it have to be bigger than that?
What happened was you actually didn't slow down that much, and you went more so in the turn. And then also a bigger step would have been better, but you were aware of it, right? That was much better, much more clear. Good. Good pivot. Very good. 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 Just a few more. Good pivot. And last one. Good. Then come to a stop when you're ready. Excellent. Okay. So, if Taco's being mindful and paying attention like he's supposed to, and your communication is clear, your movements are correct, it should be very simple. You should never feel like an argument. If you ever feel like you have to overcompensate, or if you feel like it feels weird, we're doing something wrong most likely, or he's not paying attention. So the most common one is when when we're turning left, is if the dog is foraging, they'll be up here. So when you're turning left, you're turning into them. Okay. There you go. You're turning into him. So then what ends up happening is you have to like compensate and then swing out really wide to make it happen. It feels very awkward.
Yeah.
Okay. So then I'll tell the owner like, why not feel awkward? And they're like, and I'm like, the dog wasn't in position.
Right.
Okay. So that's usually the biggest giveaway. Or if you do a pivot like this, right? So you extend your leg. If Taco keeps going, that means he wasn't paying attention.
Right.
So then I just start tapping and then go the opposite way to bring him back to my side. Okay. So it should feel like you're not even walking with him. His right shoulder parallel to your left leg. Behind is fine. In terms of to the side, I usually give like a 6-inch gap. That's acceptable. Anything more than like a foot or more to the side is too much. It should be closer.
Okay.
No, not even an inch forward.
Okay.
Okay, so if his shoulder were to be here, that's passing. That we don't allow. Okay, so like right now he's fine. But if you're walking with him and you'll notice like his nose should fall no farther than when your foot lands. Okay, but if that shoulder is just even an inch in front of you, that's considered passing. Okay, and what happens is it starts with an inch, becomes 3 inches, and next thing you know, he's back to being here again.
Right.
Okay, questions?
No.
When it comes to handling the reactivity, okay, it is easiest in the beginning until you learn his progress and how it transfers to you.
Right.
Is it's easiest to control a dog from becoming reactive, or when they are being reactive when you're in a stationary position. Okay.
Okay.
So let's say for your neighborhood, is it like sidewalk with like a patch of grass, and then it's the street? Okay. So what I would do is, if I'm walking, let's say I see a dog approaching, I'm gonna just assume he's gonna be reactive.
Sure.
It's easiest to just step aside and then go like to where the curb is, and you're gonna be facing inwards. As you're gonna be facing the sidewalk. You pivot in, and then Taco's gonna be here with you. He auto sits, and then you're gonna shorten your leash. Okay. So go ahead and shorten your leash here. You're gonna pull up about there. Okay. So what you're doing here is you don't have your leash tight, and you're not like this.
Yeah.
Because that's gonna feed into the situation. Is by shortening the leash, you're limiting range of motion.
Sure.
So if Taco runs, he only has about 1.5 feet to go. But if you left it like you had it earlier, it's about 2 to 2.5 feet of slack. He's going to be out here.
Right.
Okay. So the other thing is, go ahead and just pull up like that. Good. So you see how you just have to do this. Go ahead and give slack. Give slack. There you go. A little more. There you go. Now pull up. There you go. So you see how you have to go all the way up there before you felt any tension on his collar. So by shortening it, you limit range of motion, but you're also making it so that when you pull up, it's immediate.
Right.
Okay. Most people, when they walk with their dog, it's completely slack. I see them all the way up here to try to get control of the dog, and the dog has all this leash, right? So by shortening it, I have immediate access to stopping them, and you always want to go straight up. Okay. Most people go back or up and back. Okay. Back or up and back creates more reactivity. Up de-escalates reactivity. Okay. So we're just going to change what we do. So I step aside, I shorten my leash, and your responsibility is Taco.
Right.
Don't worry about the other dog. Okay. So you're watching Taco, and I'm looking for any signs of tension. Okay. So like right now he's panting with an open mouth. That's what we would call relaxed state. Okay. So if he's panting with an open mouth and you see him spot the dog, do you know what might happen? Like as they change to show tension?
He would stop him.
Yes, you close that mouth, okay? Closing that mouth is tension, or loading tension, okay? Now, it doesn't mean he's gonna become reactive.
Sure.
We have to see what happens.
Right.
So he can close his mouth, and then maybe it's closed as the dog passes, and then once the dog passes, he opens. It just means he was unsure in the moment, and he did load with tension, and he was telling you, like, hey, mom, this makes me uncomfortable, but not so uncomfortable that he escalated into reactivity, okay? So you have to give the trust of what are you going to do in order to like see what you need to do. I wouldn't start tapping simply because he closed his mouth.
Okay.
He's simply communicating, this is starting to stress me out. Okay, it's what he does after that signal that matters. Okay, so I'm nice and relaxed. I have my leash short. I'm watching Taco. I see the dog approaching, and I also like to use my peripheral range so I can see this happening here, even though I'm looking at Taco. And then if you start to see them pass, and then maybe right here, he blows up. You go straight up, you don't say anything, just pull straight up, and you start tapping until he relaxes a bit. Okay? So I don't want you to think so much that you tapped or corrected Taco into a sit position. I look at it as a relaxed state. So two different things. Okay? So if like someone comes over and you tell them make yourself comfortable, what would they do most likely? Yes, relax, sit down, right? So it's the same thing here. It's not so much the sit that's fixing the problem, it's the fact that you're calming the brain down and it's choosing to sit in response.
So he would still choose to sit after getting tapped, though?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so by pulling up and remoting, he's been conditioned to go into a sitting position, but it's not a sit, it's a relaxed state. Okay? Because we have behavior and we have obedience.
Right.
Obedience is very, it's, sit down, go to your bed, come to me, right? It's these mechanical responses. Behavior is mental state. Okay, because he can be sitting and still like, I want to lunge the dog, right? So that's the important part. So let's say you said Taco sit, he's sitting, but he's like still like growling and revved up. You've not addressed the reactivity. He's still being reactive, he's just contained. And what I care about is getting that mental state to be completely passive.
Right.
So that's why we don't say anything here. You just simply pull straight up, and you don't have to like be all the way to this, but just enough to contain him.
Yeah.
And then you're tapping on the remote, 25, 30, 35, 40, and then all of a sudden he goes like this, and then he just chills out. Then you go, okay, 40 to get him to completely let go of the reactivity and relax. Okay? But it's much easier to read the situation when you're stationary.
Right.
Okay, as opposed to when you're moving.
Okay.
Trying to address reactivity while you're moving is going to be very complicated.
It sounds like a lot happening.
Yes, because you have to worry about displacement and all that stuff. Stationary is the easiest. Okay? And trainers will tell you not to do this because they'll say it's harder. I'm like, well, life is already hard for the dog as it is because it's being reactive. So at least with this, it puts more control for the handler. Okay. The other thing that you're doing here is you're practicing habits, right? Because you see a dog, you're putting to the side, you're shortening your leash, you're bumping your number, whatever is needed, and now you're ready. And what this does for you is, let's say Taco's doing great, and he's not being reactive. And then maybe you progress to, let's see what happens if I just walk past the dog, and he's not being reactive, right? So that's great. But then one day, maybe you turn a corner, and there's another reactive dog, and they lunge more, and it triggers him to lunge more. Is since you've been doing this habit of stepping aside, shortening the leash and stuff, in that moment when that happens, you're going to just automatically shorten the leash, pull up, and start tapping by force of habit. Okay, so you're actually preparing yourself for moments that will be seemingly like out of, I'd say like out of nowhere, and you're going to move very quickly because you've already done it 1,000 times
Right.
in a planned environment where it's like, oh, I see the person, let me just step aside now. Is you're building habits. Like for me, if a dog becomes aggressive or reactive, whatever, right? Most people are like, they go, oh my God. Whereas I go, this is what I need to do in order to achieve control, and then just start asserting myself. Okay. So once you watch Taco, if his mouth is completely open the entire time that dog passes, what does that tell us? He doesn't care. He's nice and relaxed. That's what we want to see. And you want to have lots of moments like that before you progress to, okay, now I'm not going to step aside anymore. I'm just going to walk past the dog. Okay. Let's say it's another reactive dog. Okay. Let's say you don't see any reactivity, but then when a dog reacts to Taco, he becomes reactive back. That's normal. Okay. Because that's kind of like growing up, like kids were like bullying me, right? Like yelling mean things and stuff like that. It's kind of the same thing that you're inclined to want to reciprocate. Okay. So technically, it's not coming from anywhere bad. He's just going, hey, if you're going to talk back to me, I'm going to talk right to you, right? Is you can still teach him to ignore that. But it makes more sense that he would be reactive with that stuff.
Sure.
So reactivity is a spectrum. Our reactivity towards humans is typically the first thing that always goes away. Our reactivity towards calm dogs is the next thing. Reactivity towards excited, puppy-type energy is in the middle. Other reactive dogs and sudden run-into dogs are in the spectrum. Okay? So those are the two that I would expect you to most likely not so much struggle with, but still have to like deal with. Okay? So lots of ways of handling this. If I see a person with their reactive dog, I can step aside, shorten my leash, and just assume like he's probably going to blow up, but still giving him the opportunity to not. Okay? If he blows up, or you see even the sign of like him puffing up or something, that's when you would address. You wouldn't wait for him to be lunging and barking. Okay? Because reactivity escalates. It can be from like this to this to this to this to this to this. Like there's steps before the actual barking occurs. So if you see any cue of him like tensing up past the mouth closing, you would want to tap there. Okay?
Yeah. I mean, I guess, he has like cues that I can kind of figure out. I think the mouth closing is just hard when you're standing above that. Like,
yeah, so that's why, like, if you step aside and you look at him, like, you can do that. Okay? Because his job is stay like that. So then when you step to the side, it allows you to see the full spectrum of Taco. Because you can see the mouth, you can see the ears, you can see the hackles, you can see the tail, you can see all that stuff. Okay? And you might have moments where you're like, crap, he became reactive. I didn't see what the cue was.
Right.
You have to develop that out.
Yeah.
Right? So then you just become more attentive, like, okay, he did become reactive. What was it that I missed? It could be super subtle too. Okay? If you can't find it, then what I suggest is you film it and then you send it to me. and then I can review it and go like, this is the cue that you're missing. Okay? But that's one means of going about it. Let's say you're struggling with him just getting over the reactivity stuff towards other reactive dogs. It's most likely the number's too low. Because now you have to compensate. Maybe in other instances 35 was perfect, but because that dog is being reactive right back to him, it's for him, he's more validated in being reactive back, so you're gonna need more power to kind of compensate and override that rationalization in his head. Okay? If it looks like a not good situation, or if that person looks like they don't have very good control of their dog or whatever, leave the situation. Okay? Leave the situation. Don't try to force that to, because if they're not being very careful with their dog and they come over to your space or something, it's just going to be bad. Okay? So use your better judgment. You're like, yeah, this doesn't look too good. Cross the street. If he like looks back and tries to bark, you just tap him, you keep moving, or remove yourself. Okay? Or if there's an off-leash dog that you don't know and doesn't look controlled, my suggestion is you move away from it. Okay? Any questions about that stuff? Okay, so reactivity, super simple. Stepping aside, shortening your leash, laying a pass, watching taco. Also be mindful of the person because he's a cute little guy. So then they're going to see you and they're going to think like, oh, you step beside my dog and say hi. Yeah. Right. So I'm using that peripheral range, and I've had it where clients have been sit there waiting for their, watching their dog, and then the owner's just coming over with their dog, beelining for them. Yeah. And I'm like, you have to be mindful of that. Don't get tunnel vision and go, oh no, they're training right now. Okay. And I'm very direct. I don't say please. I say no, we're training, because people will bypass please. Yeah. And they'll say, oh, but my dog's friendly. Your dog, right?
They always say it's friendly.
Yeah. No, we're training.
I'm like, it has nothing to do with yours. It's mine.
Yeah. So I'm very direct. I'm very blunt because typically the rudeness catches people off guard. Sure. And then they're just like, all right, yeah, just walk away. Okay. Questions about that? Nope. All right. So we're going to work on the stay here. So the way that I use the stay is different than most people and trainers. Most people or trainers would say sit, stay, gallon, stay, or go to your bed, stay. I don't do that. I say sit down and go to your bed. Okay. I only say stay when the dog is already in position. Okay. So what command is taco curtain?
Sit. No, heel.
Heel. Gash. Okay.
It's like, wait, what am I in?
Yes, the last thing you communicated to him was heel.
Yeah.
But the sit or the auto sit is built into it. Okay. So it's not a sit, it's a heel. Okay? So if you were to move, what would he do?
I like it with me.
Correct, because he's thinking heel.
Yeah.
Okay? So his inclination is to walk with you.
Yeah.
So here, because he's in a sitting position, human logic says, I can't tell him to sit, he's already doing it. You could tell him to down, but for the sake of the exercise, we're going to use the word stay. Okay? So stay now means I'm going to move, you're not going to move. And he has to stay in the position he's in, which would then become a sit. Does that make sense? Yeah. So what I'm going to have you do is you're going to cue heel, you're going to walk down, you're going to do a turn, you're going to come back, you're going to land in the middle, and I'm going to coach you through the rest. Okay? Heel. Good crossover. Good. Go ahead and get ready to come to that stop. Good. Now what you're going to do here is with your left hand, because that's the one closest to taco, you're going to just go stay, okay? And then you're going to pivot out with your right leg. You'll hold your leash. And you're going to keep it short like you had it prior. Is you're going to cue the word stay with the left hand. You're going to pivot out with that right leg. What makes sense that you're facing taco like that. Okay, so stay.
Stay.
Just like that. Up. Yeah. Okay. Now take a step back, but keep your leash where you have it. No, backwards. Like that. Hold right there. Good. Then you come back to the side. Good. Now you embrace. Good. We're going to try that 2 more times, okay? You're at 20, what now? What's your number?
24.
Let's go ahead and go down to 18. Did you see that really big response he had? So that, for the stay, we don't want as big a response because the dog will be more inclined to actually move. Okay? So we're going to go down to 18. If you land 17, 19, again, that's okay, just general range. And heel. Good. Good pivot. Good turn. Going to come to that stop. Good. Stay.
Stay.
Good. Up. Tap. So what you're going to do here, because now he really wants to follow you, is when you step out, I'm going to have your leash, have you with your leash already have it short. So when you step out, you're going to be kind of like this. Okay? Or taco. So, okay. So, yes. So you're doing. So when you step from taco, it's going to be stay. You step out like this. Okay. Because we're trying to prevent him from moving forward. Okay. Because since he's been doing the heel with you right now, his inclination is sinking to exactly. So we're just having to teach him to disengage. Like he's like, oh, this is kind of just repeating. You're gonna just do the work with me. I'm not supposed to. Okay, go back to the side. We're gonna try that again. Heel.
Heel.
Good pivot. And stop when you're ready. Good. Stay.
Stay.
Yeah, that was good. Very good. Now back to the side. Good. We're gonna try. We're gonna do that again, but now we're gonna advance it. We're gonna start to move around them. Okay. So you're gonna go and cue the heel.
Oh, I move around.
Yeah.
Yep.
You got it. Good. Get ready for the stop when. Good.
Stay.
You're going to pivot out. Good. Now here, now that you're out, go ahead and shorten just a wee bit. Good. So that this way, if he does make a mistake, having it short allows you to correct them sooner to keep them away from you. Is you're going to do a half moon circle around the front half of taco here. And then back the other way. Good. Yep. There you go. Like that. Now relax. Good. Now you're going to walk back so that you're facing in front of him. There you go. It's okay. Now, now go walk back to a side. Good. And we're going to try that pattern 2 more times, okay? Heel. Good.
Stay.
Good. That's okay. That's okay. Because he's technically with that butt on the ground. Good. And then back to his side. Attaboy. Good job. Now here, see how he stood up? Tap. Okay. So you started petting him, but nothing said he was free yet. So he's technically still in that command. Correct this, tip. Yep, going to remove that from his paw. There you go. So when you start to pet him, if he stands up, you want to correct him back to the position. Then you would continue with your praise. Okay. One more, heel.
Nope.
Good.
Stay.
Good. Yep, there you go. You got it. Good. You're fine now. Move around. Good. Now back to a side. Very good. So now, what you're going to do, same process, but now you're going to start walking a full circle around them. Okay? Now, when you come around the back half of Taco, that's when I really expect there to be mistakes. If he keeps his butt on the ground and he does what I call swiveling, which is, he's facing you, right? You start to walk around, is you'll sometimes see this, okay, where they swivel their butt. Technically, he's still gonna sit, right?
Okay.
And I don't correct that,
Okay.
because once he figures out you're just gonna walk around and then come back, it goes away.
Okay.
Yeah, but if the butt gets up or lays down, you would definitely correct that back into the position.
Okay.
Okay.
The sitting is fine.
Correct.
Swivel there.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
Good turn. Good. Good.
Stay.
Yeah. Good. And you just come around and land in front of him. Either direction is fine. Yep. There you go. Now you're going to stop to face him. Wait a moment. Now step in, tap, tap, yep, tap. There you go. Now step away. Good. Hold a second. And then go in and come back to his side. So right there, when you tapped him, he got confused with recall because he started moving towards you. So if you ever see Taco kind of get up, what we do is we step in when we tap to help push him back into the position. Okay, so we're going to try that 2 more times.
Just the walking or the...
You'll go into the heel, into the stay.
Yep. Stay.
Mm-hmm. Good. Excellent. I'm going to do one more. Heel into stay.
Yep. Stay.
Mm-hmm. All right, thought about it. Back to a side. Very good. And praise. So for the stay, the way it would apply in life is like, let's say, Taco's like laying down on the couch or something, and you decide, oh, I need you to not move. You wouldn't say down because he's already doing it. Stay. And then it would become down. Okay, or like Taco's laying on his bed, and you decide, I need you to not move. You know, because if he goes there on his own, he can, you know, is chewing that one stay, then makes him, then puts him back to me. Okay? In terms of practicing it, what I recommend is when you go on your walk with Taco, is when you come to a red light, do a stay, practice at the red lights. Okay? Let's say after he moves, what I'll do is I tell you to pull up and tap, put him in the sitting position, cue to stay, so you can pick this up when we're not getting any of this or anything.
Oh.
That's usually the one there is like, oh yeah.
I like don't know anything of that.
The next one would be like just for the sake of practicing, because like you're gonna throw away something. Stay, and you step away, and you throw it away. Come back, just to get them, just to help them differentiate between, heel means for you to walk with me, and then stay means that you don't move. Okay. If you ever were to break position or make a mistake, it's that up and tap to get them back into a sitting position. Okay. Always keep that leash. And then in this phase of training, you're going to have that short leash on them because it's going to give you the means of reinforcing and to limit range of motion. Because if you try to drop the leash and do this off leash or something like that, it's just going to think, well, now I have all of this option to do, right? But by having it on that short leash, you just make it a lot easier for them to figure it out. Okay. Questions on any of that? So the next command we're going to work on here, let's get a small bed, is the place command. Are you familiar with the place command?
I've seen them, but not super familiar.
Okay. So place is very simple. It's a client favorite because it's easy to do and easy to reinforce. Is place means go here, don't move. Okay? I don't care what he does, sit, stand, lay down. I just care that he doesn't move off of the area. Okay? So what I'm going to have you do here is you're going to just heel. You're going to do a little turn, and I'm going to have you walk on that side, and you'll just kind of walk and don't walk all the way to it. You're going to stop here. He might make a mistake and think he's supposed to go. If he does that, it's incorrect. You would turn, tap to get him back on your side, and then we're going to try to come back again, come to a stop. He should stop with you. Okay?
Yeah.
Whenever you're ready. Good turn. Right.
Oh, you said keep walking.
Yeah, right. So there, because from practicing, when he sees this, he recognizes it. He's like, oh, you're just in a place.
Yeah.
But we didn't cue him. We were the heel, right? So right there, you did a little bit of a tug, and instead you would have done your turn.
Right.
Okay, so we're going to try that again. I'm going to have you go down. And this time I'm going to just approach it straight on, like this. You slow down, come to that stop. If he starts to forge, just turn, tap, bring him back. You'll turn again, and try to present him back to the mat again. Okay? So I'm doing this intentionally for you, because I want you to at least do a couple of times that directional turn and tap to see how it works. Okay, so we're going to heel, come down, then come back to the placement. Try taking tip. There you go. Try taking just a couple of steps forward. Technically no, because you said you didn't say heel, right? And you also move forward with your right leg first.
Oh, okay.
So that's where things start to matter, okay?
Okay.
And you didn't do anything wrong technically. That was actually correct. So
I don't know what I'm doing.
in advanced training, left leg means to walk with me. Right leg means you don't move. Okay. So that's why right now, what I was showing you was the foundation of it.
Okay.
But it was the right leg.
Okay.
Right? When you're stepping out, you were doing this. So here, when you stepped out, you went like this. So that's technically correct that you didn't move.
Okay.
Okay? Because you stepped with the away leg. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So here, I was just trying to test if you inch closer, if he would forge. So go ahead and just go next to him here. And you're going to cue the word heel and just take 2 steps, okay?
Yep.
Right there. Okay. Now what you're going to do is you're going to cue the word place. You're going to tap first. If taco doesn't move to the bed, you're going to tap again while giving a little bit of leash pressure towards the placement.
So I tap before I say place?
No, you'll say place first, followed by a tap. If no response, tap again with a little bit of a pull.
Place.
Like that. Good. So place means to go to a specific spot. Okay? In this case, we're using one of our elevated dog beds. So I'm assuming he has a dog bed at home? So you would want to teach Taco that his dog bed is now going to be the new place. And you can have more than one, okay? So this command just simply means go here. I don't care if you sit, stand, or lay down, just go here and don't move, okay? So whether it be for an hour, 15 minutes, 3 hours, or whatever time frame that is, his job, again, he's a little bit more lenient, he can get up and move around. He just cannot step off of the area itself, okay? So this is meant for extended control. So like, let's say you go to a restaurant patio, and you don't want to have like to worry about Taco doing all of this stuff, right? You can bring a towel, you can bring a little blanket, you can bring a little dog bed, or a little, I've had a person use their yoga mat, because you just pop it down, it should just be something that has a perimeter that distinguishes itself from the rest of the environment, okay? You would cue the word place, he goes there, and then his job is just to stay within that area, and you can just enjoy your lunch, brunch, or dinner, okay? So it's less for you to have to think about, because if you told Taco down, like this position is technically a down, right? He's laying down like that. Is if you down him, and then you're eating, and then 20 minutes later he's sitting up, you have to correct that, because that's not a down position, it's a sit position, okay? So using place kind of takes that off your mind, where it's just, I don't care what you do, just don't step off the area. Right. So it makes it more easier for you to have control, but also not have to be so strict on like paying attention to them and being able to enjoy what it is that you're doing. Okay. So like place is the one thing that we stress out a lot here, and it's the one thing that people tend to just blow off. Because it's so easy to do. Okay. Now the reason why it's so important, why we drill it so much, is dogs have a learning capacity of a 3 to 4 year old child. So going back to when like I was 3 to 4 years old and like we went to church or something, very hard for me to sit still for that 1 hour, right? Because kids want to move and stuff. So kind of the same thing for dogs, is that this isn't a physical exercise, it's a mental exercise. He has to be stationary, he has to be still, calm to a degree, and for whatever that period of time is. So it's very mentally exhausting. So that's why like a lot of times you see like the dogs on the placemats and stuff, is because they're practicing mental control. So we have physical exercise, which is the heel or walking, or we have play, then we have the place time, right? And now we're recently we're getting treadmills, so now there's structured exercise with that as well, right? So for him, like if let's say you have guests come over and you're not wanting him to like be all over people and stuff, this is one means of going about it. Okay, that you're just going, you know what, buddy, over here, lay down, and just stay out there this way. Okay. This is transferable. So like let's say you again like have a bed in your car or nothing. Don't forever. Right. But let's say you went somewhere and you just brought something for him, like his dog bed or his towel or something, that you would utilize as the placemat. Okay. Now when you go home, don't expect him, like don't say place and expect him to go to his dog bed. Sure. Because you have to transfer it. Okay. So it's gonna be super simple. You're simply gonna just walk up to the dog bed, he's on the leash, he's got the collar on, you're gonna say place and you're gonna tap him and pull a little bit of pressure on him, guiding him to the dog bed. Once he's on the dog bed, the tapping stops. Okay? If you were to try to step off the dog bed, you would tap him and keep tapping him as you put pressure on him to go back onto the area to teach him that this is now the new place. So then he thinks, oh, this is like over at Jesse's facility. This is where I go and lay down or whatever, and I can sit, stand, lay down. I just can't move off the area. Sure. Okay. And like we do as long as 3 hours here, not longer sometimes. So he can do it for quite a long time. And this is what stuff like dogs walking by, dogs in training, dogs playing, things like that. So there's a lot going on so that if you go to a restaurant, it's not going to be that different. Okay. There's no such thing as too much, in my opinion, just because it's nothing redundant. It's nothing that's being like, it's not physically exhausting. It's just you go here and just stay within the area. Yeah. Okay. Questions about this so far?
Okay. I think that my question was going to be like, how long can you stay on it? But
as long as you want. Yeah. There's no limit to it. So like, let's say for you, like you're like, well, what if I need to stay for 5 hours? No, I'm there for 5 hours, right? But expect them to maybe after the 3 to 4 hour mark start to get a little antsy because he's not done that long before. But all you do is correct him, and he would settle down, and he's just got to learn like, okay, I could sleep for longer. Okay. Nothing mean. Like dogs sleep 16 to 20 hours a day. You're just picking when he's doing it for a couple couple hours, whatever.
Yeah.
I do recommend that you utilize this on somewhat of a regular basis, and not for like extended period of time, but like maybe 15 minutes one day, 30 minutes another day. One day you're gonna watch a movie, we're gonna do an hour and a half. You know, you're just keeping up with the application of it, because definitely if you don't use it, you lose it. It does apply with dog training,
Yeah.
okay? And it's not so much that he forgets how to do it, it's more so if months goes by and then you're like, okay buddy, go here and lay down and don't move for the next 3 hours. He's like, but I've done whatever I wanted for the last,
Right.
few months, why do I have to do that today?
Yeah.
Is you're gonna have to then practice and correct him to like build it back up to what it was before. Okay? So what we're gonna do here is I'm gonna have you go into heel and walk around and approach the placemat from different directions, always stopping prior to the placemat. If he goes, remember turning and tapping to correct them and then walking back to try again. And then once you're at the placemat, you're gonna wait a moment, place, tap, to set. Okay? You always wanna make sure to wait a moment and don't walk up and go place as you're walking. Because that will create the problem of whenever you walk towards it, he's gonna assume you're gonna send him and he's just gonna prematurely go. We wanna make sure we put very clear defined stops and time and time gaps before the actual cue, so that he's learning to listen for that word before making the movement.
Okay.
Okay?
Why do I tap if I like say the word?
Just to start the process. Now, if you say place and he goes, before you get a chance to tap, you don't do anything.
Okay.
Okay? Because now he has to transfer that when you say stuff, tap also applies. Because he knows it with us.
Mm-hmm.
He knows if we say something, we're going to tap, right? He doesn't know it quite yet with you.
Okay.
So that's how we transfer the meaning of things, because here, if we tap him at 25 and you tap him at 25, it's the same. Okay? So that's when we do board and trains, I tell everybody, we have to transfer the obedience to you, because if we don't do that session and we don't do this, he's not going to respect it to the same degree.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to try it again. We're going to try the heel, walk away, come back, and then cue the place when you're ready.
So he'll get them off of the mat?
Yeah, so go ahead and you can stand, turn so you're facing that way. Yep, and then you'll just cue heel and then walk forward. Good. Good turn. Yep. Right, good job.
Place.
Yep. There you go. Good. Now tap, tap, tap. A little bit of leash pressure as you're tapping towards the placemat. Tap, tap. Good. Now you're going to relax a moment. Now what you're going to do here is go and just do a little walk around, kind of like you did with the stay. And then come back around. Good. And back to his side. Just as he got comfortable. Yep. And place. I'm sorry, heel. Yep. Good. And forward. There you go. Good. Good. Good.
Place.
Tap. There he goes. Attaboy. Now go ahead and start to walk around. Good. That's okay technically. Tap. So we were just proactive there, because technically that was okay.
Okay.
Right? Because remember, places go here, sit, stand, lay down, or he could technically stand up and stand on the edge. He just can't step off of it, right? Now, it did look like he was going to step off to follow you, so that was fine that you tapped him to just be proactive. But if you ever see him move, don't think you always have to correct him, because as long as he's not off of the place, it's technically okay for him to do.
Okay.
Right? Go ahead and walk around. Yep, that's okay. Yep. And what I have you do is turn this way so that he's on your left side, but you'll stay on that side. Correct. Good. And you're going to cue heel and then move forward.
Heel.
There you go. Good. Mm-hmm.
Place.
Tap. Tap. And a little bit of a pull. There he goes. Good. Attaboy. I'm going to do a little bit of a walk around.
How much time do I give him to like actually acknowledge it?
It's like a split second. So it should be place and send, right? But he's still trying to tie these things to you.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll try a couple more. That's why we kick in with the tap first, because in order to beat the tap, he has to move quick. If you use the leash pull, he'll do it, but he's always going to need the leash pull.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got it. Yep.
Good crossover. That's good. Mm-hmm.
Place.
Right. Attaboy. Good job. Did you have to tap on that one?
No.
No, that was good. Good. And we're going to try one more. Heel. Very nice.
Place.
And you can already see him. I don't know if you saw that with his paw. He'll start to anticipate like the send.
he?
Yeah. It's okay because he did wait for your cue. But now, like, you see how he's doing it without you needing the tap now? It's because now he's starting to transfer over place with you is the same as place as it was with Jesse and the staff.
I
Okay?
mean, I guess now I realize I have to pay a little more attention to like what it is that he's doing.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, I do this for a living, so I see every little thing. But if you go back and review your video, you'll see where when you're about to say place just prior, like he was already going like this. Okay. So going to walk around. Good. And what I'm going to have you do here is you're going to cue the heel. You're going to walk, come back like you were going to do a place. We're going to see what he does. And instead of saying place, you're going to say heel. And you start walking again. Okay?
Heel.
Right? So there, I just saw a little bit of this, which is okay. It's normal. Now you're going to say heel, and you're going to walk and just curve out this way, okay?
Heel.
Very good. So I was going to see, because sometimes dogs will just assume place and go to the place instead of moving with the handler. So it's a little trick. Try to trip them up there. Yep, wait a moment. Place. Right there, you see that little movement? Yeah, now place.
Place.
There he goes. Attaboy. Very good. So, when you do this at home, again, everything's on the short leash for the first couple of weeks, okay? Until you feel like he's transferred and has got a good feel for like, oh, this is where I go. For place, it can be multiple objects. Like some people have like a dog bed in the living room, maybe a kitchen mat in the kitchen, and then another dog bed in the bedroom. Okay, you have to teach each one of those individually, if that was the case. Okay, if you said place while you're in the living room, he'd most likely go to the one in the living room. Right? He's not going to go to the one in the bedroom. It's all about context. So if you're in the kitchen, if you said place, he goes to the one in the kitchen. Or you can have one object, like a dog bed that you move from the dining room to the living room to the bedroom or whatever, and he'll learn to recognize that object. If you always keep place in one specific spot, and then when they decide, like, after a year, I'm going to move it here, you'd have to show him it's now over here. Because he's going to keep going to that same spot, because he's going to just generalize, just generalize, I think, like, this is where it's supposed to be. And then, so you can have one in the house, and then you can have one that you take with you if you ever go anywhere with him, so that there's another object, then you'd have to take that as well. It can be anything. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. It can be a towel, a blanket, dog bed, an ottoman, a couch. I had a client use an area rug, and the dog would walk around like in that new place. I'm like, yeah, it's just really big, and your dog can literally walk around in it. Just can't step off of the area rug. Okay, so it's just something with the perimeter. It could be a carpet, like a sport carpet or something. But you have to, you yourself know what the boundary is. So that if you were to see Taco like standing like this, where the front paw is off and the back leg's on, that's breaking the placement. You want to correct them so that all of him is on the area. I don't think you're going to get this with him because we didn't see it here. But like, let's say he's on the bed, but then you kind of see like a couple paws like this, like this. He's slowly just kind of sneaking off. You want to correct that. Okay. So like my Pit, when she was a puppy, I remember like I'd her on place, I'd leave my room to go make a sandwich or something, and then come back, and she'd be like this. Okay. So she knew she had to do something with the bed. She'd literally have one foot, and she'd be sprawled out like this. Okay. So they're very intelligent. They will press the boundaries. Okay. So, but making sure that you're being aware of what he's thinking. Otherwise, like let's say he falls asleep and he happens to be off of the bed, but he's passed out. Like he's not really thinking of like I'm trying to sneak off. He just happened to fall asleep in that position. Okay. If he breaks from the position, we don't ever repeat commands. We always cue it once, and then we make it happen. So the way a dog brain works is if you say place, he breaks position, and you say place again, you reset the command. Okay. You're starting all over again. So if you do that, what happens is you'll say place, he'll go back, but then 5 minutes later, he's going to break the position again. Because nothing told him, don't step off of place. Okay? So when we send, if he prematurely breaks 20 minutes later, I don't say place, I don't say no, I don't do anything like that. I just start tapping until he self-corrects. Okay? So that he learns, if mom says place, it means go there and stay there until she releases me. Okay, so it's a very tiny detail, but it's one that a lot of people struggle with. Or they'll say, like, Jesse, I had to my dog down. I had to tell him to down, like, 20 times, and they don't stay still. Like, it's because you keep saying down. You keep resetting and resetting and resetting. And in order for the dog to learn, if you lay down, don't move, it's like cue it, and then if they break the position, I just go straight to the correction. So the only way to avoid the correction is just not to get up in the first place. Okay? So it's a tiny detail, but it does mean a lot in terms of how they process things. Questions about that?
So then they would just like recall what the last, I guess?
Yeah, they can go back to, in my opinion, they can, not so much refer, but I've seen it time and time again. Like an hour could go by, and he could be sneaking off and I could tap him, boop, go right back on, okay, without the need for the cue. Now, if he looks completely confused or like he's panicked, like he doesn't know what to do, you would just simply tap and then use leash pressure. Or if he doesn't have the leash on, grab his collar and direction towards the area, but really refraining from trying to repeat that behavior. Okay. Otherwise, it would look. Sometimes it could be like maybe he didn't hear you. Is then I'll give the repeated cue, and then the dog will go back, whatever. And that's more so if at the start of it. So if I said place and they started tapping, he's like this, that's like, I don't know what to do, place. Oh, okay, cool. Possibly you didn't hear it the first time. Okay? Other questions? So now we're going to work on the last two short leash commands, which is the sit and the down. So those two are very strict, right? Sit and down. Okay, there's no exception, there's no gray area. This is gray area. You sit, stand, lay down, chew on a bone, play with a toy. If he was on a little area with another dog, technically they can play with each other. They just can't step off of the area. Okay? So go ahead, we're going to cue, what I'm having you do here is actually cue the word break, and break means his job is done. Okay, so go ahead and break.
Break.
Good. So now it doesn't matter what he does, because he's not meant to go into heel or anything like that. He's free to move around, okay? Is go ahead and bring the leash around so that he's
Left or right?
turn. I'm trying to get the leash back to your left side. Like that. There you go. Good. All right. So what we're going to do here is he just defaulted into into a sit. Okay? So go ahead and just take a step back so you're next to Taco. And what you're going to do is with your left foot, you're going to put very light pressure. You're going to step on your leash with your left foot. Okay? And then
Am I saying something or no?
not yet. Now you see how his head dipped, okay? Now go ahead and shorten that leash a bit by pulling up as you step on it. Okay? Right there. So you see how he laid down. Okay? So when we teach these through pressure. Both with the leash and with the e-collar. Okay? So we've paired these things together and we're gonna add a cue to it, but I want to show you how it works. Okay? And that's why that video that I sent you with the explanatory sessions is so important, is because I think people, they tend to think, oh, I just press a button and the dog does it. And I go, no, there's conditioning involved, and we've taught the dog how to respond to it, which, taught him how to lay down and sit and all that stuff, right? Is when we did the down, either with leash or shoulder pressure, we were putting pressure downwards and tapping at the same time until he laid down and then everything stopped. So he learned, oh, when I feel this downwards pressure, I need to go in this position, and when I do so, everything goes away. Okay, so that's how we teach it. Okay, so there's a couple ways of going about it. We're going to use the word down, but I wanted to show you with that leash pressure with the foot how you can actually make that happen as well. Okay, so even though you can verbally cue the word down, he's technically in him down. So he would be there forever until you release him. Okay, even though you didn't say the word.
Oh,
But
really?
but because you put the pressure on him. Okay.
So he associated the command with the pressure?
Correct.
Okay.
So like place, we teach it by pulling the dog towards the bed and tapping, and once he goes there, it goes away. So like if I was standing next to place and I tapped Taco and he went there, even though I didn't say place, he would assume I'm under a place command because I felt the tap.
I see.
Okay. So here, when you put pressure on the collar, he felt that downwards pressure, so he down. So to him, he's thinking he's in a down command, despite the fact that he didn't cue the word verbally. Okay, so the dogs don't need the word; they just need to know what the pressure. They just need to feel pressure, and the direction of the pressure tells them what they're supposed to be doing. Okay, so what I'm going to have you do here is you're going to cue the word sit, and you're going to tap. And if he doesn't respond by that first tap, you're going to lightly pull up on your leash. Okay.
Sit.
Good. You're going to wait a moment, and then you're going to cue the word down.
Down.
Yep. Wait a moment. Like that. Okay? So what we're doing, and what's your number? You're at 18? Let's go down to 12. What you're doing, again, is the same thing that we did with place. Now we're just transferring. When you say sit or down, there's some power behind it. Okay? Is when you tapped and he felt it, he waited a moment, and then he went up. He went to position. Good, we don't have to do anything. Okay? Now, if he didn't do that, to help transfer things, I would have had you to step on that leash and then tap again, because that leash pressure would have helped guide him to that position. Okay? So upwards pressure means put your butt down. Downwards pressure means go down. Okay? So now you're going to cue the word sit again. You're going to lightly pull up on your tip. So here, because he's still in the down, like that. Perfect. Okay? What's up?
I'm like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be telling you.
Oh, no, you're fine. So that was a correction.
Yeah.
Okay?
But I wanted to say down again now.
Oh, sure. Yeah, just by habit.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's super common.
Yeah.
Okay, well, the good thing is you caught yourself.
Yeah.
Okay? So here, instead of going, if you find yourself wanting to repeat, just go, oh, I go to this instead.
Okay.
Okay? So either because I said the word sit, or because he got confused, or maybe something moved, he popped up, and he went, didn't give you permission quite yet.
Right.
And then he went straight into that down. Okay? So that shows you his concept.
Sure.
Okay? So most trainers, they teach the down with food, and then they'll go to the e-collar, and they'll tell the dog down. If they don't do it, they remote them. And they're too far apart for the dog to connect. So we use the pressure, we teach them how to lay down using the e-collar.
Okay.
Okay, that's why all that stuff is important, because then here, when he gets up and I tap him, he goes, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
There's no confusion about it.
Sure.
And he's like, oh, I broke out of position. I'm supposed to be doing this.
Yeah.
Okay, so it doesn't catch him off guard.
Right.
So go ahead and cue that SIT word.
Sit.
Tap, tap, tap. Now a light upwards pressure. Tap, and tap. Good. What's our number now? 12? Mm-hmm. Let's go. And we were at 18 before? Yeah. Tap, tap. Let's go to 15. Good. And I'm going to have you do a heel just to reposition them. You'll come around and come to a stop again.
Heel.
Yep. And forward. That's good. And then go and just take a little step back so that you're next to Taco there. Very good. And you're going to cue the word down.
Down.
Tap. Wait a moment. Tap. Wait a moment. There he goes. Like that. Okay. So as you work with them, you're gonna learn how to read him. You cued it down. He did some motion. Then you tapped him. He did a little bit more. And then you tapped him. And then he went all the way. Okay. And ideally we went down. Boom.
Right.
Okay. So all these things that I'm giving you are things that you're going to practice to start just getting him acclimated to when you cue him that he's all supposed to do it, but then also to like kind of get yourself familiar with the skills that he has. Okay? I'll go ahead and cue the word sit.
Sit.
Tap, 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 upwards pressure, tap, tap, like that. Good. Now when you do upwards, because you're doing this.
I'm still going back.
Yeah, like that, okay? Let's go ahead and go back to 18 again, because I'm not seeing very good connection here, so we're just tweaking as we go along. And this is something that you may come across, is when you're working with him, the twitch lets you know there's connection. What he does afterwards lets you know whether or not it's appropriate, okay? So like if like I say sit and I tap him and I see this happening, but he's not sitting, it means it's not enough power. So instead of repeating the cue, I go 21, 24, 27, oop, here I am. For whatever reason, either due to distraction or what was going on, he just needed 27 to actually get him to click like, oh, I'm supposed to put my butt down. Mm-hmm. Okay? I'm going to cue the down.
Down.
Yep. There it goes. Like that. Okay? So you cue down, he tapped, he went down considerably. So I just gave him an extra second because I guess for me, I was like, he's going to do it, and then he went into it. Okay, sit,
Sit.
tap, tap, tap. Right, upwards pressure. There you go. Good. And wait a moment. Down.
Down.
Right. Now there was no tap there, right? Because you could kind of see how he was already thinking about it, right? Sit.
Sit.
Tap. 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 Light upwards pressure. Good. Let's go and go to 21 here. Down.
Down.
There he goes. Yeah. Oh, okay. Good. And then sit.
Sit.
Tap. 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 Upwards pressure. There he goes. Good. And we're going to do one last down.
Down.
Tap. Right? Okay. Almost. Go to 24. This is good, so you learn how to do this. Tap. Tap. There. So, like 20 seconds went by before you cued the down command, or after you cued the down command, right? But he still went to it. So they're able, in my opinion, to kind of retain that. Mm-hmm. It's just making him close that gap.
Sure.
Okay? So if you ever feel like it's taking a bit, take the time, figure it out. Because this is what we call troubleshooting. Troubleshooting comes into play when, let's say, fast forward a few months, it's next spring or summer, you have Taco, he's off leash, he's enjoying himself and all that stuff. And let's say something spooks him, and he starts to run off. Mm-hmm. In that moment, most people's instinct would be, come. Mm-hmm. But it's not so much about obedience in the moment as it is he's scared and running for his life.
Sure.
is that you're going to have to, within that moment, figure out how do I use this tool in my hand to make my dog return. Okay, so then if you're at 20, like you most likely be 127. You know, you have to force a return.
Sure.
But like, if maybe he's being reactive or something because the dog caught him off guard, within the moment you're trying to stop it before the situation goes away.
Yeah.
Okay, because that's the most effective. If the dog leaves before you're able to taper him down, he thinks his barking runs will be the dog. Okay, so that's why it's important to try to stop the reactivity within the moment. So within the moment, you're troubleshooting. You're like 20, 30, 40, 50, what are you going to need before you stop? Okay, so right here, we're not pressed for time, so you're just trying to get him laid down. So you're learning how to adjust your number, tap, read him to know when you've hit that correct number to get him to follow through on the command. Questions about that?
Like, how do you like gauge as far as how many up you should notch up?
For a guy like him, depending on if you see the twitch or not, if you see the twitch, I'd go and jump to 3 to 5. Okay. And don't get tied on like, you know, exact numbering.
Sure. Yeah.
If you see nothing happen, like at 30, we've seen him have a good contraction at 80. That's my reference point, right? I go, I know at 8, I'm not 80, at 18.
Yeah.
I know at 18, I can get a very good response rate, right? Because if I'm at 30 and I don't see anything, chances are there's just no connection. But I don't have a problem going up 10 levels or 8 to 10 levels. So I'm trying to get that connection as quickly as possible.
Sure.
And you could be as high as 90 and see no twitch. It happens, okay? If that happens, I go down, grab the box, hit the pager function. Oh, not vibrating, okay? Because chances are you're gonna get a response, especially if it's had like a grooming, because the code is shorter. But definitely when you work with them, don't get too acclimated to always fiddling with the collar to adjust it. Try to make it happen. Okay, just use the remote, try to force that connection. Once you've achieved it, let's say you do have to go to 80 before you start to see him responding, and then he does what you need him to do. Then you go back down again because you've achieved connection that you really shouldn't need the 80 anymore. Okay, and then you're just kind of going back and forth. It's annoying in the beginning, but once you get it, it just makes total sense.
Sure.
And then you're able to figure things out on the fly. Okay, because the other thing is, again, in the case of an emergency, if you need him to return or something, or he's being reactive, you're not going to have the ability to adjust his e-collar to get good connection. Right. So that's where it's just knowing him. Yep. Yep. Wait a moment. Yep. Yep. There it is. In those kind of emergency situations, you're not going to have the ability to like fiddle with it to like achieve better connection. Okay. Here, with him being in that down position and breaking from it, not repeating the words, that was good. I'm just jumping straight to that note. Okay. And even though it took 5 or 6 taps, ultimately he did it. Right. And as you work with them and you do that more and more, you're going to find yourself having to correct them less and less.
Sure.
Okay, because you're being very clear about not resetting the command by repeating it and simply reinforcing the original. Okay, so your homework for the next, until the next time I see you.
Sure.
And take as much time as you need. There's no, how to say, there's no time frame on your classes. You call us up to follow through whenever you need them. Is at least take a couple of weeks to practice all this stuff. But definitely the leash walking outside. Yeah. Take advantage of any dog that you see, things like that. Because the only way I know if it's transferring well or if it's getting in his head is if you do that and you see that he's behaving himself. Is the place, the easiest stuff to use is the heel because you walk with him every day. The play stuff is you can do that inside. The stay, sit, and down, stay and down tend to be ones that people use kind of infrequently. But like down you can use interchangeably with the place command. Okay, because it's a stationary command except it's just a bit more strict. So like let's say you go home and you're to watch a movie, you can either place him or you can down him at your feet. Okay? The sit command, we don't do any, I don't use sit for extended periods of time. Okay? Sit is more so momentary, like sit for a couple of minutes while I talk to the neighbor. Or like sit while we're at this red light. Okay? I wouldn't do sit and have him sit there for 30 minutes. Yeah. That's uncomfortable. Okay? So I really lean on either the down command or the place command. If anything, down is more strict, so if you can do a down, you really press the down, it should make placing it easier. So if you're gonna favor one, I'd say favor the down. But as long as you're doing them equally, or you're utilizing them to some degree on a regular basis, you should be fine. Okay. And then just figuring out what your number is going to be within the context of your neighborhood.
Yeah.
The working number, of course. I'm going to send you a few more videos because I only sent you the week 1 video, correct?
Right.
So I'm going to send you this week 2 once we get that up, and I'm going to send you 3 more that cover the remote color, like finding the number and all that stuff, just to get you a more something that you can see very clearly. And go like, oh, okay, this is what Jesse was talking about, like connection, perception, and working level.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
Know what I'm using.
Yeah. So, but it's once you get used to it, it's yep. Very good. Once you get used to it, like I don't think about it. You know, it's just I don't look at the numbers either.
Yeah.
It's all by feel now.
Sure.
Because I know he's not going to die. It's just the muscle contraction.
Yeah.
The worst that could happen is he yips. Right, so if I'm in a moment of reactivity and I just need to shut it down, like I'm not like, oh my God, what do I do?
Yeah.
I'm just like, tap, 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 tap. Oh, you stopped. What's the number? 105.
Yeah.
Okay.
That is good to know, though. That is.
Yeah. Don't feel rushed because again, if he does have any reactive moments, it's not going to inhibit your training or anything. It just means we have to figure out what the number is in order to stop it, and that's just going to be trial and error. Okay. I don't feel like he's going to need very much power. As long as you have good connection.
Mm-hmm.
But if you do find you hit like a little bit of a wall with the reactivity or something, if it does happen to pop up and you can't stop it, if you can have someone film you or you film yourself and just say what you're doing, and I can watch him and watch and hear what's going on, I can pretty much decipher like what you're needing to do in order to address the situation. Okay? Anything else? Break.
Break.
Good. He's off the clock now.